You lie on your back and let your eyes settle into the quiet spread of night above you, and for a moment, you simply breathe and allow your thoughts to drift outward into the dark the sky feels. Endless, but soft, like a deep ocean turned upside down. And scattered with small silver stones, each point of light glimmers with a calm that asks nothing of you and offers only presence and patience and gentle invitation. You feel your body begin to settle into a slower rhythm, as if the earth beneath you is cradling your weight a little more kindly. The air around you cools and steadies, and your breaths lengthen into something unhurried somewhere. Beyond the atmosphere, beyond weather and wind and the shifting of clouds, there is a realm that never rushes, a realm that has kept the same quiet pace for billions of years. That realm is calling to you now, not loudly, not urgently, but with a soft, steady pulse, like a memory returning you. Imagine yourself floating upward, slowly rising through the layers of air, leaving behind the smells of soil and grass, moving past the thin veil of sky, until all sound fades and the world becomes a blue marble shrinking beneath your feet. There is no wind here, no up or down, only the smooth weightlessness of drifting through a place where time feels stretched and softened. You feel lighter, not only in body but in thought, as though your mind too becomes unanchored and allowed to wander all around you. Small worlds drift in the dark asteroids they are called, but the word feels heavier than the things themselves. They are more like wandering pebbles from an ancient river scattered over a valley of night. They are older than any mountain on earth, older than oceans, older than air some formed in the first moments when the newborn sun was ringed with dust and heat and raw material, and in those early days everything pressed together and broke apart again in cycles of gentle violence and slow creation. You picture one of these stones now, a dark shape turning with unhurried grace in the light of the distant sun. It does not sparkle or shine like the stars. Instead, it absorbs light in a calm, steady way. Its surface is rough, perhaps pitted, perhaps layered with minerals formed long before life on Earth even dreamed of beginning. This small object has traveled for eons, without hurry, nudged only by gravity and time and quiet collisions that changed its path by inches, not leaps. As you hover near it in your imagination, you feel the deep age of the thing, not like a number, but like a presence. Its silence is not empty, but full of memory, full of story, full of the patient record of the solar system's slow unfolding. It carries the leftover pieces of worlds that almost were fragments that never found their way into planets, but still hold the ingredients of them. Like a seed never planted, it still contains potential, waiting for warmth, waiting for purpose, waiting for human hands to seek its quiet treasures. Breath moves more slowly now, matching the asteroid's careful rotation. You imagine reaching out your hand and feeling the faint tug of its tiny gravity, a pull so delicate it is almost more suggestion than force. You picture brushing the surface and seeing dust lift gently, floating round you in a cloud of ancient particles, each one a tiny witness to eras long gone. Every speck of that dust has been untouched by air, untouched by water, untouched by anything but sunlight and time. You begin to sense how peaceful the cosmos can be when you listen to it on its own terms, when you let go of the urgency of daily life and sink into the tempo of space that has never once rushed itself. You feel something loosen inside you. There is no schedule here, no pressure, no noise, only drifting worlds and the soft hum of distance, only the slow arcs of orbits and the faint warmth of starlight that needs no flame to glows. You breathe, you start to notice something else, something quieter but powerful. You sense that humanity is standing at the edge of a new chapter, a chapter that reaches beyond the cradle of Earth, into places that once belonged only to silence and stone. You feel it like a small spark at the base of your thoughts, the notion that these drifting rocks may one day become part of human life, not through force, but through gentle understanding, through careful exploration, through patience that mirrors their own asteroid. Mining, the phrase itself, might sound cold or mechanical, but you feel it differently now. You sense that it begins not with extraction or industry, but with listening, with attention, with respect for the deep time embodied in these stones. For before any metal is touched, before any dust is gathered, there must be curiosity, there must be wonder, there must be awe at these ancient companions that have circled the sun since long before Earth grew its oceans and forests, and the breath that now fills your lungs. You imagine future explorers approaching one of these small worlds, drifting toward it with the same quiet reverence you feel now. Engines whisper instead of roar. Tools move with softness instead of force. Robots extend gentle arms to anchor and study and learn. The first touch is not conquest, but greeting, and perhaps in that moment a bond is formed between humanity and the oldest travelers of the solar system, a bond built from patience and the wish to understand. Your mind floats further into this picture, and you imagine the first flakes of metal heated by sunlight on a distant rock. You imagine tiny factories the size of suitcases, melting or drop by drop, transforming it into something useful for life beyond. Earth fuel for ships perhaps, or water extracted from frozen minerals, or beams and blocks that will build structures not on Earth, but in orbit, free from gravity's pull. Each small step born from the calm, quiet beginning you feel in your chest right now. The night around you deepens, and you feel yourself drifting closer to sleep, but your thoughts remain steady afloat on the slow tide of cosmic imagining. You sense how human industry might one day stretch into the stars, not with noise, but with gentleness, not with haste, but with rhythm as soft as your breathing. The idea comforts rather than overwhelms you, because you see it beginning not with machinery, but with wonder, not with ambition, but with curiosity, as calm as the dark sky above you. And as your eyes grow heavier, you feel yourself floating again beside that small ancient stone, letting its slow turn guide your thoughts toward what might come next, toward how humanity learned to see space not only as a place to look at, but as a place to work, a place to grow, a place to understand more deeply than ever before, a place where the quiet beginning in the dark gently widens into something larger, something patient, something waiting for the next question. And as that question forms softly at the edge of your mind, you drift forward toward the thought of how space itself slowly became a place where work could happen, a place where humans could take their first careful steps into industry beyond Earth. And you feel yourself following that idea gently into the next chapter's light beginning, to wonder how our journey upward truly began. You drift gently into the long memory of your species, and you feel time open like a quiet path before you, a path lit not by urgency, but by the small, warm milestones that humans have left behind. The story of work begins in the dim glow of ancient firelight, where your ancestors shaped stone with slow, deliberate patience. Each movement was careful, simple, guided by instinct and the soft rhythm of survival, and you sense how those early sparks of effort shaped everything that would follow you. Imagine yourself stepping through centuries, as though moving through rooms in a calm museum, each one filled with the gentle hum of progress. You see hands learning to mold metal, feel the warmth of early furnaces, sense the growing curiosity that pushed people to build tools that could reach farther than their own arms. The sound of hammer on anvil echoes softly in your thoughts. Not loud, not harsh, but steady, like a heartbeat of possibility, and you realize that work has always been humanity's way of turning effort into understanding, shaping the world one thoughtful action at a time. As you move through this imagined timeline, you feel the shift from small villages to towns, from towns to sprawling cities, each one a new layer in the story. Of human capability, roads spread like veins carrying goods and ideas. Ships drift across oceans carrying hopes heavier than their cargo wheels, turn gears, lift and hands. Guide new creations into the world, all of it from the smallest tool to the tallest structure is built from the same quiet desire to understand and to shape your things. Your breath slows as you notice how each error builds gently on the one before, how nothing truly appears suddenly but grows from countless small decisions. Repeated again and again, the first telescopes emerged from this patience. Simple tubes of glass and wood that let the night reveal more of itself than ever before. You picture one held in your hands, the lens cool, the sky waiting, and the realization forming slowly that Earth is not the center of everything, but part of something broader, something quiet and immense. In that moment, a new kind of work begins, a work shaped by curiosity rather than need. People start to map the heavens, not to survive, but to understand, and each new discovery feels like a soft widening of the world. The planets become destinations for thought, the stars become questions, and you feel humanity leaning gently upward, fascinated by the idea that space is not empty, but full of paths waiting to be walked. As centuries fold into one another, you sense the growing courage that carries human hands from Earth into orbit. Rockets rise, not with violence in your imagination, but with a deep, calm purpose, lifting the dreams of generations on pillars of light. You picture yourself watching one ascend, slow and steady, through a sky that darkens into space, and you feel the quiet wonder of knowing that humans have crossed the boundary that once kept them grounded. The first astronauts float above the world, their bodies drifting like leaves in a still pond. A new understanding unfolds. They work with a delicacy shaped by weightlessness, learning that tools behave differently when nothing holds them down. Every bolt, every panel, every motion is a conversation with physics, and you sense how this new environment asks for patience, asks for care, asks for a gentler kind of strength. Then you imagine the first space stations taking shape, pieces carried up one by one like building blocks arranged in orbit. Each module clicks softly into place, forming a home for science and exploration. You drift through these imagined halls, hand grazing the wall as plants grow in small containers, instruments hum round you, and experiments unfold without the pull of gravity. These stations become the first true workplaces beyond Earth, each one a floating laboratory where human curiosity breathes more freely. You feel how this shift changes everything. Work no longer needs to happen only on solid ground. It can happen in the quiet vacuum of orbits, supported by sunlight and starlight and the steady guidance of human hands and minds. You imagine researchers studying materials that behave differently in microgravity, observing crystals growing with flawless symmetry, watching fluids dance in perfect spheres. You sense how this research becomes the foundation for future industry, each discovery a brick placed carefully in the growing architecture of space-based work. Your thoughts drift to satellites, the silent servants of the modern world, orbiting Earth with steady purpose. They help you navigate, help you communicate, help you understand weather, climate, and the shifting patterns of the planet. They are tools of work to forming an invisible infrastructure that wraps around Earth like a soft net of light. And in their presence you feel the gentle blending of Earth and space into one continuous workplace, one shared environment of effort and discovery. Technology evolves. You imagine robots joining this growing workforce, machines shaped with precision, designed to operate where humans cannot easily go. They grip, they sample, they drill, they measure, all in the stillness of vacuum. Their quiet diligence becomes an extension of your own hands, reaching into places too distant or dangerous Their presence hints at a world where humans and machines work together, not in competition but in harmony, each one enabling the other to do more with less. Strain now. You drift toward the present moment where humanity stands with tentative hope at the edge of a new frontier. You sense that space is no longer simply a place to visit, but a place to build, to create, to sustain life and industry. You picture factories that may one day orbit Earth, powered by the endless generosity of sunlight. You imagine mining machines, harvesting resources from small, drifting worlds. You see habitats forming slowly, like seeds taking root in the calm soil of space. All of this grows from the same spark that guided the first stone tools, the same patient curiosity that shaped metal-forged engines, built rockets and lifted humans into orbit. Work in space begins, not with ambition, but with the steady unfolding of everything that came before, and you feel how natural it seems now, how almost gentle the transition appears when viewed from the calm vantage of this drifting momentus. Your thoughts settle. You sense a question forming quietly at the edge of your awareness. A question about what humans will need in order to take their next step outward. A question about the resources sleeping in the small, ancient worlds that drift just beyond reach, and you feel yourself drifting toward that question, ready to follow it into the next chapter. You breathe slowly as the stars seem to lean closer, reminding you that every frontier begins with understanding that each new effort rests upon the last. You imagine reaching toward the stones that circle the sun, wondering what materials sleep within them, what stories they hold, what possibilities they offer for a future shaped by human hands. And with that wondering, you drift toward the thought of what waits in those wandering worlds. You drift once more into the soft darkness of space, and as your breath slows, you begin to feel time loosen around you. Your body, light as a falling leaf, moves gently through an era long before Earth had oceans or clouds or even a name. You are floating inside the early solar system, a place not yet shaped into the familiar orbits you know, but a wide circle of swirling dust and quiet glowing heat. The sun is young here, a soft sphere of newborn fire, not yet fierce, still learning how to shine. Its light spreads through the haze like warm breath across morning air, illuminating a world made entirely of beginnings. You watch tiny particles drift past you, dust finer than flour, grains smaller than the sand on any earthly shore. They float without hurry, guided only by the sun's pull and their own gentle collisions. Your breath becomes part of their rhythm, slow and drifting, as though you too are a small particle suspended in cosmic dawn. These grains are made from earlier stars, stars that lived and died long before this moment, scattering their elements into space: carbon, iron, silicon, oxygen, all glowing fragments of vanished suns. You sense how familiar they feel, as if the building blocks of your own body are whispering from all around you as you float in this soft chaos. You notice how dust begins to gather. Each grain, so small by itself, carries a faint pull of gravity, a subtle invitation that draws other grains closer. When to collide, they stick. When many collide, they grow. Not fast, not sharply, but in a pace that matches your slow breathing, steady, calm, patient. It is a geometry of attraction, a quiet mathematics written not with numbers but with motion. Clumps form in front of you, growing from the size of crumbs to pebbles, from pebbles to stones. You watch them drift, touch, fuse, break apart, and fuse again. Nothing here is final. Everything is in the act of becoming. Time stretches like a calm river, almost impossible to measure. What feels like a minute to your drifting mind might be a century for these particles, or perhaps 1,000 years. There is no rush, no urgency, only the slow choreography of creation. The stones become larger, now measuring meters across. You glide near them, feeling the faint gravitational tug they produce, a gentle pull on your presence. These are the first building blocks of planets. Planetesimals end, you see their quiet determination to grow, but not all of them will become worlds. Some will collide too softly, bouncing away before they can join. Others will shatter, sending fragments drifting back into the disk. And many will never grow large enough to be planets at all. These objects remain in the spaces between major orbits, drifting like quiet thoughts left unfinished. They become the asteroids, the small ancient seeds of worlds that almost existed. And as you float beside them, you sense that they hold a memory even planets cannot keep. Memory of the solar system exactly as it was at the moment of its awakening. You approach one of these early asteroids, a slowly turning shape made of rock, metal, and ancient dust compressed over countless ages. Its surface is rough, untouched by atmosphere or water, marked only by the impacts of other drifting stones. You hover near it, feeling the peace of its silence. It does not change quickly. It does not erode. It simply turns, carrying its ancient story around the sun. You imagine laying your palm on this surface, feeling the coolness of a world older than Earth's mountains, older than Earth's oceans, older even than the idea of Earth itself. Your breathing grows softer, matching the asteroid's slow rotation. You begin to understand how it formed, a clump that grew just enough to hold itself together, not enough to become round like a planet. Its shape is irregular, like a thought that never quite settled. You watch tiny grains still drifting toward it, sticking to its surface, adding layers older than the continents you know. Every particle is a relic of cosmic infancy, and you feel as though they are whispering the first secrets of creation. Around you, more asteroids drift. Some large, some small, some metallic, some carbon-rich and dark. Each carries its own lineage. Metallic asteroids formed closer to the sun, where temperatures once melted heavier elements into solid lumps of iron and nickel. Carbon-rich asteroids formed farther out, where ice and organic molecules could survive. You feel how varied their compositions are, how each one holds a different clue to what the early solar system was made of. It is like floating through a silent library of ancient chapters, each asteroid a page preserved in vacuum. You move gently among them, imagining how Earth once shared this same space. Long ago, your planet formed from the same swirling dust you see now. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the water in your cells all were shaped in this same cosmic workshop. As you breathe slowly, you sense how connected you are to these drifting stones. They are not foreign or distant. They are part of your ancestry. They carry the history of your materials, the origin story of your own chemistry. You drift through the disk as millions of years pass in a soft blur. The dust thins. The sun brightens. The planets grow larger and claim stable orbits. The swirling chaos settles into a quiet arrangement. But the asteroids remain, scattered between Mars and Jupiter, trapped in a region where Jupiter's gravity prevented them from merging into a single world. You imagine that moment, a gentle tug, a subtle imbalance just enough to keep these stones apart forever. Because of that, they stay as they were, frozen in time, small custodians of ancient memory, and you begin to understand why they matter now. These stones hold minerals and metals in their original, unaltered form. They hold water locked in crystal structures. They hold organic molecules that once drifted through star-forming clouds. They are archives of everything Earth once was, everything the planets came from. You feel a sense of quiet wonder as you imagine future explorers approaching these drifting worlds, not with force, but with the same reverence you feel now, listening, learning, touching gently. You allow yourself to float beside one for a while, matching its slow rotation, sensing its steadiness. In its silence, you feel something grounding, something ancient and patient. The asteroid has seen billions of years pass without changing its pace. It has witnessed comets blaze, planets form, moons collide, atmospheres rise, and life begin its long unfolding journey. And still it turns, holding its quiet place in the sun's wide circle. Your breathing deepens as you drift farther into this stillness, and the geometry of creation settles gently in your thoughts. The shapes of orbits, the slow spiral of dust gathering into spheres, the balance of gravity and motion, they become like a soft diagram drawn behind your closed eyes, a calm pattern shaping everything you know. You realize that the origins of asteroids are not chaotic but patient, not violent but balanced. They are the natural outcome of the solar system learning how to form itself. And as you float there, you sense a new question rising softly in your mind. Like a bubble drifting upward through still water, a question about what these ancient stones might offer now, after billions of years of quiet drifting, and how humans might one day reach out to gather their gifts with steady hands and thoughtful care. You begin this chapter by letting your body grow lighter in your imagination, as though the familiar weight you carry every day quietly dissolves. You notice how your shoulders soften when gravity loosens its grip, how your breath slows, how your spine lengthens as if it has been waiting years for this gentle release. You are floating now, not in a dream, but in a place where weight is no longer a rule, only a memory that fades with every drifting moment. In microgravity, your body becomes a quiet experiment in change. The bones that hold you upright on Earth do not need to resist the constant pull downward, so they begin to relax. Without that resistance, they slowly grow lighter, shedding density the way a tree sheds leaves in autumn. You feel the subtle truth of this shift, not as danger, but as adaptation. The way rivers change shape when banks move or storms reshape the land. Your bones are simply listening to their new environment, your muscles to begin a new conversation with space. On Earth, they work all day without your noticing, stabilizing your posture, balancing your steps, holding your head in place. But in orbit, these invisible tasks disappear. Your body floats without effort. Your legs no longer push against the ground, and your back no longer lifts the weight of your torso. These muscles, no longer needed for familiar routines, soften. They lengthen. They begin to dream of new roles, even as they quietly shrink from disuse. Yet this softness is not weakness. It is transformation. And you feel this transformation inside yourself with slow, meditative awareness. Your hands drift upward when you let them go. Your knees no longer settle downward but hover in the air like small moons. You move by pushing gently against a wall or a railing, and the smallest gesture sends you gliding, carried by inertia that never seems to expire. You do not walk. You drift. You do not stand. You float. Every movement becomes intentional, a quiet negotiation between your mind and the gentle physics around you. Your heart, too, finds a new rhythm. Without gravity pulling blood downward, your circulation spreads more evenly. Fluid moves upward into your chest, your face, your head. Astronauts describe a fullness, a slight pressure behind the eyes, as if the body is learning how to distribute itself in a place where up and down have lost their meaning. You imagine your own heart adjusting, exploring this new balance with patience. It beats steadily, but with a different sense of purpose, as if reminding you that even in the quiet of my life stays anchored by its own rhythms. Your inner ear, the part of you that tells your brain which way is down, grows silent. The tiny crystals that normally settle with gravity now float freely, confusing the signals your brain expects. For a while, you may feel disoriented, as though the room is spinning or your head is drifting off its axis. But slowly your mind relearns stability, trusting the visual world instead of the invisible tug that guided you on Earth. You sense that your body is adaptable, far more than you imagined, capable of rewriting balance from the beginning in this floating world. Even simple tasks become new lessons. You reach for a tool, and it slips away, drifting gently before you catch it again. You take a breath and feel how the air moves around your body differently, how exhaled clouds of warm carbon dioxide hang near your face, unless a fan pulls them away. You drink water not by lifting a cup, but by guiding a shimmering sphere of liquid to your lips. Food must be anchored, sealed, attached. Everything that can drift will drift, and you learn to navigate this new choreography with patient curiosity. You feel how microgravity changes not only your biology, but your awareness. Your senses adjust. Your instincts shift. You learn to brace your feet under a strap or hook your toes beneath a handrail so your body has something solid to push against. You learn that every action has a floating reaction, and even a small twist of your torso can send you spinning slowly through the air. You move more gently, more thoughtfully, as though you are learning to dance inside a dream. Your sleep changes as well. Without the weight of your body sinking into a mattress, you drift inside a sleeping bag attached to a wall or ceiling. You do not turn in your sleep. You hover. Your arms float upward unless tucked inside. You wake without pressure points or stiffness, as though your body has been resting in still water. You sense how deeply the absence of gravity reshapes rest, restoring some parts of you while unsettling others. But even as your body adapts, it whispers reminders of the planet it came from. Bones need pressure to stay strong. Muscles need resistance to stay firm. Hearts need the steady push of gravity to maintain their usual strength. Astronauts exercise for hours each day in space, not to build extraordinary fitness, but simply to maintain the body they brought with them. You imagine yourself running on a treadmill strapped down, or pushing against a resistance machine that anchors you so your muscles remember their purpose. You feel gratitude for this hidden work that keeps the body whole as you float inside this chapter. You sense how microgravity gently rewrites what it means to inhabit a human form. You feel wonder at how adaptable your body is, how quietly it listens, how patiently it changes. You imagine future workers in orbit, on asteroids, in deep space stations, building new kinds of strength shaped by the environments around them. Their muscles might grow differently. Their bones might shift. Their balance might redefine itself entirely. Evolution, once paced by generations, now begins to move within a single lifetime. You breathe slowly, imagining yourself hovering in a place where the body is free from weight, yet full of possibility. You sense how this silence of gravity opens a door, not only for movement, but for imagination itself. And as you drift in this awareness, you begin to wonder what tools and machines must evolve alongside the human body to make work possible in such gentle, floating terrain? You feel that question forming softly, like the next step in a path that leads you deeper into the story of space itself. And you let your thoughts drift toward the kinds of devices humans might build for a world without weight. You imagine yourself floating above a distant asteroid, the dark velvet of space surrounding you like a calm ocean. Your body drifts effortlessly, weightless, and yet your mind is anchored in thought, curious and attentive. In your hands, you hold nothing at all, but your intentions reach out through delicate machines suspended in the void. These are robots, your proxies in a world too far, too harsh, too distant for your physical form. You'll watch them move slowly, deliberately, their metallic fingers reaching toward rocks that have drifted for billions of years. Their movements are silent, precise, and tireless, and you feel a quiet intimacy with each joint and sensor, as if your own body and mind are entwined with theirs. You drift closer to one of these machines and imagine its arms extending like gentle branches, touching surfaces without haste, testing their textures, measuring their strength, sensing their composition. Each sensor hums faintly, a whisper of understanding that travels back to you in data streams. Translated into knowledge, your mind can gently absorb. You feel as if you are there without moving, touching without contact, exploring without exertion. The vacuum of space separates you from the asteroid, but the robots bridge the distance, carrying your awareness to places where hands cannot reach and where eyes cannot linger long without peril. You notice how the robot's fingers move with patience. A drill rotates slowly, carving a small sample from the surface. You imagine each rotation as a heartbeat, deliberate, measured, honoring the ancient stone it touches. Tiny cameras adjust angles, capturing the asteroid's ridges, valleys, and craters. Lasers and spectrometers pass over the minerals, reading compositions without disturbing their essence. You sense a soft rhythm, a choreography that blends human intention and machine capability. The asteroid, the robot, and your mind form a quiet triangle, each learning from the other, each existing in harmony. Your thoughts drift to the metal hidden beneath the surface. Iron, nickel, platinum, and silicate dust glimmer faintly in your imagination. The robot's instruments probe these treasures carefully, mapping every fragment, every vein, every subtle variation in density and purity. You imagine the machine's arms as extensions of your own senses, your fingertips wandering across millennial surfaces. You feel the weight of responsibility in their steadiness, the respect embedded in each slow, deliberate motion. There is no hurry here, only understanding and a deepening awareness that the universe itself has taken its time to create such small wonders. You float in rhythm with the robot as it moves from one region to another, a quiet dance that requires no spoken word. Sensors glide over the asteroid's rough surface, collecting dust and fragments for analysis. Magnets attract metallic grains. Tiny scoops lift pebbles that float gently into containment. Each action feels like a conversation between you and the asteroid, mediated by these robotic hands. You notice how effortless it seems, yet you know that each gesture is meticulously planned, executed with care, and adjusted for every variable. Your mind is both the conductor and the audience, observing without interrupting, feeling without touching. You feel the subtle joy of collaboration. Though the distance is vast, though your body floats far from the asteroid, you are intimately involved in its exploration. The robots extend your reach beyond imagination, transforming space itself into a workspace where your presence is not measured in steps or hours. but in thought, precision, and intention. You sense the satisfaction of discovery in every careful movement. The dust that drifts into a collection chamber, the mineral that reveals its crystalline structure, the tiny shift in composition that hints at origins long forgotten. The asteroid becomes a teacher, the robot your hand, and your mind the receptive witness. You observe how the machines adjust to obstacles, learning with each action. When a fragile surface threatens to crumble, they slow, they shift, they redistribute force. You feel a gentle thrill at the intelligence hidden in their programming. The way each joint flexes and holds, each sensor measures and reports. You imagine this intelligence as a quiet presence beside you, attentive, considerate, tireless. The robots do not rush, do not compete, do not grow impatient. They are perfectly suited to the vast patience required by space. And you feel your own mind slow to match their rhythm. You imagine a fleet of such machines, operating across a small field of asteroids, each performing a quiet ritual of examination, collection, and movement. You see them scanning surfaces, analyzing minerals, gently separating fragments. You sense how humans have learned to let tools extend their senses and capabilities, trusting the machines to act as careful hands in places where their own bodies cannot venture. And you feel a gentle pride in the collaboration, a deep satisfaction that this is not a conquest, but an exploration conducted with mindfulness, reverence, and curiosity. Your thoughts wander to the data the robots collect, images, measurements, elemental compositions, and subtle readings are transmitted across millions of kilometers, arriving as streams of knowledge that you interpret in the calm of your mind. You imagine converting this information into understanding, letting it feed your sense of wonder about the cosmos. Every measurement is a story, every sample a fragment of history, every robot's gesture a message carried from a time and place you will never touch physically. And yet, through the machines, you are intimately connected to the silent narrative of the asteroid belt. You notice the quiet poetry in the robot's work, a drill tip tracing a thin line along the rock, a magnetic collector drawing in a sparkling grain, a camera shifting angle to catch a fleeting reflection of starlight teach motion is part of a larger rhythm. You feel this rhythm echo in your own thoughts, a gentle metronome that slows your mind and calms your body. The machine's patient steadiness becomes your own, a reminder that work can be soft, deliberate, and yet profoundly effective. You sense the intimacy of this relationship, and the quiet meditation that occurs when tools extend the reach of human intent. You imagine the machines performing tasks you cannot even see, navigating surfaces with irregular gravity, adjusting for tiny rotations, compensating for the subtle pull of distant bodies. You picture their arms stretching, bending, rotating, their sensors flickering like attentive eyes. And you feel that same extension in yourself, as though your awareness is no longer limited to your body but flows along the robotic limbs, brushing over the asteroid's surface, touching the metals and dust that have drifted for billions of years. You realize how fully humans and machines can become partners, how fully a mind can inhabit a distant, unseen landscape. You let your awareness expand further, imagining what these robots will accomplish in the years to come. Perhaps they will lift materials for construction, assemble structures in the void, or mine resources gently to support distant colonies. Perhaps they will explore comets, moons, or faraway planets, carrying with them the careful touch of human curiosity. And yet, for all their work, they remain patient, silent, and exact. You sense a quiet humility in their presence, a lesson in how to act without haste, how to extend your reach without overwhelming, how to explore without disturbing the calm of the universe. You drift alongside one last robotic arm, watching it gently lift a pebble that has rested untouched for eons. You feel a connection not only to the machine but to the asteroid itself, a thread of awareness linking mind, metal, and rock. You sense how far-reaching human presence can become when extended through thoughtful tools. And you imagine a future where our hands, minds, and machines are inseparable companions among the stars. You breathe slowly, your body weightless, your thoughts steady, your heart attuned to the gentle rhythm of exploration. And as you watch the pebble float toward a collection chamber, guided by robotic precision, you begin to wonder what new relationships humans might forge with the cosmos, how our presence might be felt without being present, how our minds might stretch across space even as our bodies rest. And you sense that the next chapter of this journey will explore the delicate dance between human intent and the silent, waiting worlds that orbit our sun. You begin by imagining yourself in the cabin of a spacecraft, weightless, yet fully present in the slow rhythm of travel. Outside, the stars are scattered across the endless dark-like points of quiet memory. There is no rush here. Only time stretches before you, measured by the patient blue whispers of the ion engines that propel you forward. Each tiny pulse nudges you steadily along a path chosen long before, and you feel your mind align with the slow, deliberate rhythm of the journey. You inhale and exhale, letting the stillness of space seep into your awareness, and your thoughts begin to drift like the light around you. The engines hum faintly, barely audible, and yet you feel their effect in every molecule of your body. You float effortlessly, yet the spacecraft glides through the void with careful intent. Months pass, and you notice how your sense of time softens. Days stretch into weeks, and weeks fold into months, each moment unhurried, almost liquid. You begin to measure the journey not by hours or calendars, but by subtle changes in the stars, by the faint alterations of the spacecraft's course, by the gentle push that nudges you closer to your destination. You feel as though you are moving through thought itself, carried on invisible currents of gravity and motion. Your mind wanders to the asteroid you are approaching. First only a distant glimmer, a point of curiosity suspended in the void. As the weeks pass, it grows steadily, imperceptibly, each day adding more detail to its shape in your imagination. You notice its rotation, the way light glances off its surface, and you picture its craters and ridges forming intricate patterns of shadow and stone. You imagine tracing the contours with your fingertips, though your hands float free in the cabin. There is a softness in knowing that you are both observer and participant, connected to this small world by the machinery and precision of your journey. Course corrections arrive like whispers, subtle impulses that shift your path by tiny fractions of a degree. You watch them unfold with meditative attention, understanding that every nudge carries purpose, that the spacecraft responds as a living extension of your will. The ion engines pulse gently, sending minuscule streams of xenon ions outward, and you feel your body respond to the slow acceleration. You notice how your perception of movement has changed. No jolts, no abrupt shifts, only the continuous, almost imperceptible translation of your position in space. Time becomes a companion rather than a constraint, and you learn to listen to the rhythm of momentum as the distance closes. You begin to see the asteroid with increasing clarity. Its irregular shape rotates slowly, revealing surfaces pocked with tiny craters, some reflecting distant sunlight, others shrouded in shadow. You imagine its composition, the metals sleeping inside it, the dust and silicates that have drifted together over eons. You feel a connection to the small world, a quiet empathy for its solitude in the vast emptiness. You sense that it has been waiting for visitors like you, patient and unhurried, carrying its history silently across millions of kilometers. You drift through long hours, watching instruments and displays, monitoring trajectory and speed. Yet you notice how your mind settles into a contemplative pace. The hum of the spacecraft, the soft glow of controls, and the distant light of stars create a gentle meditative environment. You think about the vast emptiness you traverse, the nearly imperceptible gravity wells that influence your path, the delicate dance of celestial mechanics that guides you without force, without urgency. And you feel a profound calm in participating in this slow, deliberate journey through space. You imagine yourself navigating among the subtle, gravitational tugs of planets and other asteroids. Each maneuver, each adjustment, is like a gentle hand on a delicate instrument. You appreciate the patience of the mathematics, the poetry of physics unfolding without haste. Every calculation, every minor course correction is an act of care, a gesture of respect toward the universe and toward the small world you are approaching. You feel a sense of humility, of quiet awe, in participating in this meticulous choreography of motion, guided by forces that have shaped the solar system for billions of years. You notice how the ion engines themselves teach patience. Their blue glow pulses faintly, barely perceptible against the dark, each emission of ions pushing you forward with imperceptible acceleration. You learn to read their rhythm as if listening to a heartbeat, to trust the accumulation of countless gentle pushes over time. You understand that in space, speed is not measured by force alone, but by patience and continuity. You feel your mind and body synchronize with this pace, absorbing the lesson of slow progress and sustained attention. You let yourself float in this quiet education, appreciating the beauty of a journey that unfolds, not in haste, but in careful persistence. The months stretch gently, and you begin to notice small changes in the environment around you. The background stars shift subtly. The angle of light changes as your trajectory curves around the sun, and the asteroid grows larger with every passing day. You imagine the view from the spacecraft's observation window, the tiny world expanding from a distant point of light into a recognizable object, a celestial companion awaiting your arrival. You feel the intimacy of anticipation, the gentle excitement that comes from watching the slow approach of something both foreign and familiar, something that has existed for eons yet now is close enough to touch in your imagination. You begin to imagine what it will be like to arrive, to lower your velocity and drift near the asteroid's surface. You picture the spacecraft adjusting orientation, the instruments preparing to interact with this small world, the robotic arms and probes standing ready to extend your presence without you leaving your cabin. You sense the collaboration between human intention and machine precision, the silent partnership that allows exploration to occur without immediate physical presence. You feel the patience required to approach such a fragile and ancient world, the awareness that every movement carries consequence and every gesture is deliberate. You notice how your mind absorbs the scale of the journey. You imagine the months spent in isolation, the small routines that structure your days, monitoring systems, recording observations, checking instruments, adjusting orientation. Each task, however minor, contributes to the slow advance toward your destination. You feel a quiet pride in these small acts, understanding that in space, subtlety is strength, and careful attention is a form of mastery. You sense how the journey itself, not just the arrival, shapes your experience, teaching endurance, observation, and the poetry of slow, steady motion. You allow your thoughts to drift outward, imagining the vast emptiness beyond the spacecraft. Space stretches infinitely, yet your journey is purposeful, directed, intimate. You sense the asteroid growing larger, its features becoming clearer, its presence more immediate. You feel a gentle anticipation, not urgency, a soft readiness that mirrors the slow pulse of the engines and the measured decisions that guide you. Every mile, every day, every small course correction carries you closer to this new world, and you feel your own awareness expand alongside it. You imagine the final approach. The asteroid rotates lazily, its surface a tapestry of shadows and sunlit ridges. Your instruments track every detail. Your mind reaches forward in silent connection, preparing to extend the robotic hands that will touch the ancient metal, dust, and stone. You sense a quiet wonder at the intimacy of approach, at the careful choreography that allows presence without intrusion, understanding without disturbance. You feel the patient culmination of months of steady, silent travel, and yet the journey is not over. Arrival is only the beginning of a new exploration, a continuation of the story that began long before your spacecraft left Earth. And as the asteroid grows in your vision, transforming from a distant point into a small, rotating worldlet, you feel a soft awareness settling in. The journey has been measured, patient, deliberate, and in its quiet passing, you have absorbed the rhythm of space itself. You sense that this slow, steady, and silent voyage has prepared your mind and body for what comes next. Delicate work of reaching, touching, and understanding a world that has waited for eons, inviting you gently to continue the story that unfolds beyond the distance of months and millions of kilometers. You drift closer to the asteroid, your spacecraft gliding with quiet patience, and you feel the first real sense of proximity to a world that has spun alone for billions of years. The surface grows more distinct with every passing second, each crater and ridge revealing the history of collisions and eons of silence. You imagine yourself reaching out, though your hands float free, and your mind anticipates the touch of instruments, probes, and robotic extensions connecting with the fragile body of this small mountain. The moment is slow, deliberate, and full of reverent attention, as if you are preparing to meet something almost alive in its quiet persistence. You notice the dust rising gently from the asteroid's surface, lifted by even the smallest motion of thrusters or airless vibration. Particles drift lazily in the vacuum, following arcs dictated by the asteroid's feeble gravity. Tiny grains obedient to the gentle pull that has guided them across time. Each stone seems suspended in a slow, graceful ballet, tumbling carefully, spinning like thoughts caught in reflection. You feel your body attuned to this rhythm, your mind slowing to match the pace of the wandering dust, your senses stretching to embrace a landscape that is both solid and fleeting, both familiar and utterly alien. The robotic arms extend toward the asteroid, moving slowly, almost tentatively, as if learning how to touch without disrupting. You imagine the delicate grasp of clamps and gentle drills probing surfaces without imposing force, anchoring themselves with soft thrusters and harpoons to maintain stability. Each contact is measured, cautious, and patient, and you feel your own sense of touch amplified through these tools. A bridge from human intention to distant, indifferent matter. You sense how much care is required when engaging with a body that obeys fragile gravity and yet carries the weight of cosmic history in every grain. You notice how every motion matters. A misaligned push could send dust swirling into chaotic trajectories. A poorly anchored instrument could float away. And yet every gesture is precise, intentional, harmonious. You feel a gentle thrill as the spacecraft hovers and thrusters whisper corrections, tiny nudges that maintain position and alignment. Each adjustment carries a quiet responsibility, a mindfulness that unfolds slowly, deliberately. You breathe with the machines, attuning to their rhythm, letting your awareness expand to include both your vessel and the distant stone. You are learning to touch with care. The moment of contact arrives quietly. You imagine the first mechanical fingers brushing against the surface, sensing texture, measuring resistance, recording data. You feel it as a handshake across deep time, a connection to something ancient and unyielding yet delicate, alive in its own slow way. Tiny fragments shift, glinting in reflected sunlight, and you sense the asteroid's subtle response, its silent acknowledgement of your presence. You imagine tracing its ridges, following the gentle curves, noting the irregularities, and each observation deepens your understanding and your quiet reverence. Dust drifts lazily into collection chambers. Stones are lifted for study, and you feel the rhythm of work emerging, not in haste, but in patience. Anchors hold the robotic arms steady, harpoons embed lightly, and small thrusters balance motion, each system working in harmony. You imagine the soft vibration of instruments as they gather samples, the almost inaudible hum of machinery translating distant intention into tangible action. You sense that every tool, every measurement, every contact is a conversation with the asteroid, a careful negotiation between human curiosity and the silent wisdom of its existence. You notice the surface responding differently in each region. Some areas are solid, resistant, holding instruments firmly. Other places crumble beneath gentle touch, dust lifting like faint clouds in a sunless sky. You imagine this variability as the asteroid's personality, each section telling its own story of formation, collision, and survival. You sense the humility of engagement, the awareness that you are not imposing dominion but participating in a delicate dance. Your mind slows, letting patience become the primary force, and you recognize that the work of exploration is also the work of listening. The asteroid's rotation brings new areas into view. Shadows stretch and shift, revealing hidden crevices and glinting metals beneath thin layers of dust. You imagine navigating these features with robotic hands, adjusting angle, pressure, and orientation to maintain a steady, responsive touch. Every micro-adjustment feels like a meditation, small, deliberate, and connected to the larger rhythm of the asteroid and the cosmos. You notice how your own awareness expands to include subtle forces you cannot see, asteroids, weak gravity, the momentum of stones, the faint pull of distant planets, yet you move in harmony with them, understanding that exploration is a careful conversation, not a hurried conquest. You imagine extracting a tiny fragment, a speck of metal that has drifted for eons, capturing its history in miniature. The robotic arm lifts it carefully, keeping it steady against the backdrop of infinite darkness. You feel the weight of the gesture, the profound significance of moving something so small yet so old, and the quiet exhilaration of holding knowledge without breaking the fragile equilibrium of its home. Dust swirls around the sample in slow, lazy arcs, and you sense the beauty of impermanence, the subtle poetry of matter that has existed for billions of years and will continue long after your brief visit. You notice how every moment of contact teaches attentiveness. A shift in pressure, a spark of reflected light, a faint drift of particles all become part of a growing understanding. You sense the asteroid's silence not as emptiness but as a repository of information, patiently revealing itself to those who approach with care. You feel the intimacy of working alongside time, of respecting slow processes that are immeasurable by human standards. You let your mind float in this reverence, observing the quiet authority of an object that is both fragile and ancient. Learning the rhythm of its slow existence, you imagine the final moments of this delicate operation. Robotic fingers retract, samples are secured, instruments slowly lift away, and the asteroid returns to its silent spin. You feel a soft melancholy in leaving its surface, tempered by the understanding that you have touched something eternal without disturbing its essence. You sense that your presence, though fleeting, has been gentle, respectful, and informed by patience. You imagine the asteroid continuing its slow journey, unperturbed, yet slightly changed by the awareness that someone watched, recorded, and gently touched its surface. You feel the subtle satisfaction of connection. The instruments, the thrusters, the robotic arms have become extensions of your own body and mind, and through them, you have held a conversation with a moving mountain older than human history. You notice the quiet integration of human intention and machine precision, the humility required to work with fragile systems in infinite space, and the soft rhythm of learning that unfolds in moments measured not by urgency but by presence. You sense a gentle completeness in the work, and yet you know that exploration is only beginning, that knowledge is a river without end, and as you drift back, your instruments secured, your samples contained, and your spacecraft aligned for the next phase, you feel the quiet anticipation of transformation. The asteroid remains patient, spinning in the dark, while you carry its fragments and stories onward. You sense that the next chapter of your journey will involve the slow unfolding of what has been gathered, the careful translation of contact into understanding, and the gentle realization that touching a world is only the first step toward learning to live among the stars. You drift near the asteroid, watching the subtle motion of sunlight across its surface. Each glint reveals textures, shadows, and hints of material hidden within. You imagine harnessing this light, focusing it gently on or in vacuum furnaces that exist only in thought for now. The warmth is slow and patient, the heat spreading evenly across metallic grains. You feel the rhythm of the process in your mind, the slow, deliberate transformation from raw dust into something capable of supporting future structures. Each particle seems to hum softly, as if aware that it is becoming more than it once was, responding to the patient curiosity of human hands mediated by machine precision. You notice the water trapped in tiny pockets of ice, held in shadows or in the interior of minerals. It drifts gently as it is released, captured in containment fields, then converted into You sense the elegance of this process, a simple transformation, yet one that holds the promise of motion, of continued exploration. The idea of flight beyond Earth becomes tangible in your imagination as water becomes fuel, and you feel the patient satisfaction of turning resources into opportunity. Every step is slow, deliberate, like breathing, and you are aware that even in the silence of space, change is constant, subtle, and profound. Metal begins to separate from rock. Tiny fragments of iron, nickel, and platinum glinting in imagined collection bins. You visualize robotic arms sorting, lifting, and gently melting them in small, weightless furnaces. The metals flow as if in liquid choreography, forming beams, rods, and sheets that could one day become the skeletons of spacecraft, habitats, or distant stations. You feel your own hands moving in concert with these machines, guiding the shapes, understanding their potential. There is a gentle satisfaction in watching raw material adopt purpose slowly, without rush, without urgency, in the steady patience that defines work in microgravity. Dust, the ever-present companion of asteroids, becomes something entirely new. You picture it compressed into shielding brick, layers of regolith fused into barriers that might protect living quarters or delicate machinery from radiation and micrometeoroids. Each piece is formed with care, each layer carefully observed. You feel the intimacy of creating order from what once seemed random and inert. In this quiet labor, you understand the poetry of transformation. What is scattered becomes structured. What is fragile becomes resilient, all through a slow, attentive process that honors both material and time. You imagine the small, off-world factory emerging around you. It hums softly in your mind, not with loud clanging or abrupt movement, but with subtle energy, precision, and intent. Solar collectors spread, robotic manipulators extend, and furnaces glow faintly in the vacuum. Every action is deliberate, measured, coordinated. You feel the rhythm of work as if inhaling and exhaling in sync with the machinery. A meditation, a quiet dance of purpose. You sense the patience embedded in each motion. The knowledge that here, in the stillness of space, work takes on a tempo dictated by physics, not urgency. You notice the subtle cooperation between different processes. Water vapor fuels plasma thrusters that slowly position devices. Metals shape themselves in ovens and presses designed for weightlessness. Dust compacts into protective layers without gravity pulling it apart. You sense how every component is interdependent, how the factory is alive with intention without a single human present outside its control. You feel a quiet satisfaction in observing this coordination, a gentle awe at the interplay of energy, matter, and intention. Each small step contributing to the creation of something meaningful. The absence of gravity transforms everything. You imagine handling molten metals and flowing dust in 3 dimensions, each movement requiring careful adjustment and anticipation. Beams float as they are shaped. Dust drifts with the slightest disturbance, and every tool must be responsive, flexible, and patient. You feel yourself immersed in this environment, sensing the subtle adjustments necessary to maintain order and progress. There is a profound calm in this, a meditative awareness that each action resonates across space and time, connecting the intention of humanity with the slow evolution of matter itself. You think of the rhythm of this factory, how time itself stretches in the absence of day and night. Work proceeds steadily, measured not in haste but in the accumulation of careful acts. You imagine observing tiny details over hours and days, the exact shimmer of molten metal, the precise distribution of regolith dust, the slow coalescence of ice into fuel. You feel the intimacy of watching transformation, of witnessing the patient unfolding of potential into utility. Each small success is quiet yet significant, a testament to the deliberate persistence of human curiosity and ingenuity. You notice the quiet beauty in repetition. Every act is mirrored, measured and refined. You visualize robotic arms repeating motions over and over, refining processes, checking alignments, and recording data. The repetition is not monotony. It is rhythm, a meditative cadence that allows for mastery and attentiveness. You feel your mind synchronizing with this pace, the slow, deliberate unfolding of each step, as comforting as a slow tide or a gently rocking ship. In this gentle rhythm, you sense the emergence of something wholly new, a factory that exists only in harmony with space, physics, and patient intention. You imagine the shapes that emerge, beams and panels, bricks and fuel canisters, all slowly constructed, weightless yet purposeful. You feel the elegance of creation without gravity's constraints, the freedom to explore form in ways impossible on Earth. Every piece has its function, yet also its aesthetic, the subtle curvature of a beam, the smooth compression of a dust brick, the glint of metal polished by controlled plasma. You sense the interplay of utility and imagination, of practicality and poetry, and you feel your mind expand into the possibilities of creation unbound by terrestrial rules. You notice the gentle interplay of energy. Sunlight warms furnaces, ionized particles move tools, and subtle currents of magnetic containment guide materials. You feel how every force is used delicately, how energy is directed with precision and patience. Even the smallest inefficiency or misalignment would be amplified in microgravity. So attention is constant, subtle, and meditative. You imagine yourself floating among this choreography, a quiet observer, yet intimately connected. Your senses expanded to include the small but significant pulses of energy shaping matter around you. Water collected from the asteroid's ice is stored, refined and repurposed. You visualize it splitting into hydrogen and oxygen, becoming fuel for rockets that will carry materials or perhaps people to new locations. You feel the weightless transformation of one form into another, and the gentle continuity of movement, water to fuel, metal to structure, dust to protection. Every cycle is a meditation in patience, a quiet lesson in the adaptability of matter and the ingenuity of thought. You sense that this is not merely work, but a slow unfolding of possibility, a poetic engagement with the building, blocks of life and exploration. You feel the first sense of completion in your imagined factory. Though work continues, there is a quiet pride in the transformation achieved so far. Dust has become structure, ice has become fuel, metal has become form, and the off-world factory hums in gentle rhythm with the asteroid's motion. You feel the humility of creating without haste, of building without imposing force, of understanding without disturbing the delicate balance of a small world. Each act has been patient, deliberate, and poetic, a meditation in the quiet, infinite possibilities of matter. And as you float back slightly, observing the factory you have envisioned, you feel the slow promise of what is still to come. The asteroid spins silently beneath, its resources now not merely potential but gently shaped by human intention. You sense the quiet anticipation of further work, of turning these first transformations into broader exploration, and you feel the gentle awareness that creation is a continuum, a slow and deliberate story that carries forward into the unknown reaches of space, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. You hover in orbit, the Earth a soft blue pearl below, and the asteroid, now lightly tamed, spins silently nearby. Your mind drifts slowly over the intricate choreography of supply lines, robotic carriers, and carefully plotted trajectories, each one a whisper of human patience translated into motion. The slow hum of distant machinery becomes a meditation, and you feel yourself breathing with the rhythm of trade and transformation. Every parcel of metal, every droplet of water, every fragment of regolith is part of a quiet ballet, moving not in haste but in mindful, deliberate motion. You sense the intimacy of connection, the tenderness of industry unfolding where gravity barely exists. The paths between worlds stretch like invisible threads, fragile yet persistent. Cargo moves gently along these channels, each container of material held within precise trajectory. You imagine them as ribbons of light and purpose, the asteroids' bounty traveling through the dark to meet the needs of Earth and other stations in orbit. You feel your awareness expand with these movements, tracing the arcs in slow, patient thought, imagining the quiet calculations, the soft adjustments of thrust, the near-invisible forces keeping everything in alignment. The distance between worlds does not feel insurmountable, only a stretch of space to be navigated with care and observation. The first factories hum quietly in orbit or along the asteroid's surface. You picture them assembling beams, panels, shielding, and fuel with deliberate precision. Each operation is slow and steady, the pulse of creation unhurried, patient, rhythmic. You sense the extraordinary intimacy of the process, human intention expressed through robotic hands, shaping the rawness of cosmic material into the building blocks of future exploration. There is no rush here, only the poetry of slow labor, the meditative dance of potential unfolding into form. You feel yourself attuned to the cadence, a quiet observer and participant at once, your mind drifting with the machinery's gentle flow. You notice the elegance of supply lines in microgravity. Containers rotate slowly as thrusters guide them, movements calculated down to fractions of a meter per second. Collisions are avoided through gentle nudges and long arcs. The ballet of motion orchestrated by invisible hands and careful programming. You imagine the time it takes for each object to travel, the patience required to observe, adjust, and confirm. You feel a soft awe at this precision, this meditation in motion, and you notice how quiet it all is, how the absence of noise becomes a kind of music, a lullaby of deliberate, attentive care. Materials gathered from distant rocks are transformed with steady patience. Metals become beams for habitats, water becomes fuel for further exploration. Dust compresses into shielding that could guard the delicate lives of humans or machines. You visualize the factory's pulse, the measured pace of extraction and refinement. You feel a deep sense of connection, as though your mind and body have expanded to include these distant processes. Each transformation carries weight, yet floats lightly in your awareness. A balance of matter and intention that seems almost like breathing. You sense the poetry of turning small, silent elements into structures of enduring purpose. The first habitats begin to take shape in the quiet void. Panels drift gently into place, beams snap together with magnetic precision, and protective layers accumulate slowly, like sediment in a patient river. You imagine floating alongside the construction, feeling the freedom of motion without the tether of gravity. Every adjustment, every connection, every measurement is part of a slow conversation with matter itself. You notice the interplay of sunlight and shadow across surfaces, the glint of metal, the faint reflection of distant earth, and you feel a deep, meditative harmony with the emerging forms. You sense that the act of building in space is both practical and contemplative, a blending of human intention and cosmic patience. You consider the energy that flows through this nascent industry. Solar arrays capture sunlight, powering furnaces and thrusters, guiding tools and materials with gentle precision. You feel the slow pulse of power, subtle but constant, a lifeblood flowing through circuits, beams, and robotic limbs. Each spark, each pulse, each movement is deliberate, measured, and graceful. You sense the intimacy of energy management, the meditation inherent in using force without violence, in directing effort with awareness and calm. Even the tiniest inefficiency would ripple across the system. And so every action is slow, attentive, reflective dot. Earth becomes a distant yet constant anchor. You imagine the supply lines forming connections, the slow, predictable movement of resources between planet and asteroid. You feel the soft reassurance of continuity, the gentle promise of interplanetary exchange. The separation between worlds feels less like distance and more like the careful stretch of a line connecting to points of care. You notice the symmetry of motion, the graceful arcs of carriers, the patient adjustment of trajectory, and you feel a subtle sense of wonder at humanity's ability to extend purpose beyond familiar shores. Each movement, though distant and slow, carries profound meaning. The factory's rhythm influences your own perception of time. Days blend into days without sunrise or sunset, each moment measured not by light, but by intention and progress. You sense the meditative quality of the work, the quiet beauty in repetition and precision. Metals melt, dust compacts, water converts to fuel, and all of it flows in harmony. You feel the gentle satisfaction of witnessing, participating in, and imagining the careful unfolding of a vast human project that is patient, deliberate, and thoughtful. Each act seems small, yet every small act contributes to the larger structure, to a world emerging in slow, deliberate grace. You notice the freedom inherent in weightlessness. Beams can be oriented in any direction, dust compressed without settling, fuel stored without fear of spillage. You feel the quiet poetry of this flexibility, the soft meditation in understanding how processes adapt when gravity no longer dictates behavior. Your mind drifts through possibilities, habitats of elegant form, spacecraft assembled with care, energy flowing effortlessly through connected nodes. You sense that creation in space is a dialogue, one that requires listening as much as action, attention as much as intention. You imagine the future stretching outward like a dawn that never ends. Resources flow, habitats grow, and human presence begins to feel as natural in orbit as it does on Earth. You sense the quiet excitement of possibilities not yet realized, the patient unfolding of human ingenuity into the vastness beyond one planet. Every object, every fragment, every movement contributes to a continuum, a slow narrative in which exploration, creation, and observation are intertwined. You feel a gentle reassurance that this first step, this quiet industry, is only the beginning. A seed planted in the stillness of space to grow in measured patience, and as you drift slightly backward, observing the interconnected dance of asteroid, factory, and orbiting carriers, you feel a soft calm settling through your mind and body. The Earth glows below, the asteroid spins nearby, and the promise of human endeavor stretches forward, unhurried and patient. You sense that the work begun here will ripple outward, shaping not only technology and industry, but also imagination and thought, the quiet expansion of presence across the void. You carry this awareness with gentle breath, a meditation on patience, purpose, and the slow, graceful unfolding of possibility. And as sleep begins to brush your mind, you feel the long horizon of the future stretching gently before you, a world no longer confined to one planet, a space patiently waiting for human hands and minds to move, shape, and drift ever onward.